The most dangerous person in any room isn't the loudest voice or the most impressive title. It's the one who knows exactly what they want, but never reveals it. Machiavelli understood this 500 years ago while watching the most powerful figures in Renaissance Italy rise and fall. Those who broadcasted their intentions were quickly neutralized. Those who maintained mystery became untouchable. In today's world, this principle is even more powerful. Every time you announce your next move, you hand your opponents the perfect weapon against you. Every time you explain your strategy, you dilute its power. The masters of influence throughout history share one common trait. They never showed their full hand. They cultivated an aura of unpredictability that made others hesitate, reconsider, and ultimately submit. This isn't manipulation, it's strategic silence. Today, I'll show you how to harness this forgotten power that Machiavelli used to survive political chaos and influence history from the shadows. The ability to keep others guessing isn't just a skill, it's the ultimate form of psychological leverage. Before I reveal these Machiavellian principles, understand this. Once you see how power truly operates, you cannot unsee it. This knowledge will fundamentally shift how you read people, situations, and the games being played around you every day. If you're not ready for that level of awareness, stop watching now. For everyone else, pay attention to every word. Number 1. The three-circle information strategy. Imagine having access to a secret room that only you can enter. Inside that room are the thoughts, strategies, and plans that will determine your success. Now, imagine carelessly leaving the door wide open for anyone to walk in and see everything. This is what most people do every day without realizing it. They reveal their entire hand before the game even begins. Machiavelli survived in one of history's most dangerous political environments by mastering what I call the three-circle information strategy. This approach changed everything for him, and it will do the same for you. Think of your knowledge as 3 concentric circles. The outer circle contains information everyone knows. The middle circle holds what only trusted allies know. And the inner circle, that's reserved exclusively for you alone. This inner circle is your true power center. Most people make a deadly mistake. They blur these boundaries. They share inner circle information freely, not realizing they're giving away their greatest advantage. Every time you reveal your deepest motivations, true intentions, or leverage points, you hand others a roadmap to control you. Here's a crucial insight. When the CEO of Blockbuster revealed to Netflix leaders that they weren't concerned about streaming because their stores were still profitable, they gave away inner circle information. This revelation told Netflix exactly where to attack, ultimately leading to Blockbuster's downfall. One careless revelation of inner circle information cost an entire company its future. This brings us to point #1 of 5, the three-circle information strategy. Understanding what belongs in each circle is your first step toward Machiavellian power. The outer circle should contain only information that's either already public or that benefits you when shared widely. Your achievements, carefully selected opinions, and general knowledge belong here. Share these freely but strategically. The middle circle requires careful management. This includes information shared only with allies, your challenges, some of your plans, and selected goals. The key is selectivity. Each ally should only receive pieces relevant to their role in your strategy, never the complete picture. But your inner circle, this is sacred. Your true motivations, backup plans, maximum leverage points, and ultimate goals stay here. This information never leaves your mind. Even your closest allies don't need access to everything. Remember, complete transparency is a modern delusion, not a virtue. When faced with direct questions about your inner circle, Machiavelli would redirect without lying. "I'm exploring several options," or "I'm still gathering information," preserves your position without resorting to deception. Practice this daily. Before every conversation, mentally sort what information belongs in which circle. When you feel the urge to reveal something important, pause and ask, does this person truly need to know this, or am I seeking validation? That pause can save your leverage. A banking executive I worked with mastered this approach during negotiations. While competitors revealed their bottom lines early, she kept hers strictly in the inner circle. The result? She consistently secured terms 15 to 20% better than her peers, not because she was smarter, but because she understood which information belonged where. Start building your 3 circles today. Your inner circle should be small but powerful, the true source of your strategic advantage. Number 2, the power vacuum technique. Have you ever noticed how nature abhors a vacuum? Empty spaces don't stay empty for long. The same principle applies to information. When you create an information vacuum, others rush to fill it, often revealing more than they intended. This is where we discover one of Machiavelli's most powerful yet least understood techniques. In the courts of Renaissance Italy, Machiavelli observed how those who spoke less often learned more. While others frantically filled silent moments with revelations, the true power players created spaces for others to expose themselves. They understood that humans are uncomfortable with informational gaps and will instinctively fill them. This brings us to point #2 of 5, the power vacuum technique. This method allows you to gain critical information while revealing nothing of value yourself. The technique works because of a fundamental human impulse. We're deeply uncomfortable with silence and uncertainty. When you strategically create information gaps, most people can't resist filling them. Their discomfort becomes your advantage. Here's how to implement this today. In your next important conversation, present partial information about a situation. Then go silent. Don't ask direct questions. Simply wait. The silence creates pressure that few can withstand. Most people will rush to fill this vacuum with assumptions, opinions, and often confidential information they never intended to share. A tech CEO I advised used this during acquisition talks. Instead of revealing his company's valuation expectations, he simply described their technology capabilities and went silent. The potential buyers, uncomfortable with the gap, began suggesting values far higher than he would have initially proposed. By creating an information vacuum, he increased his company's sale price by millions. In workplace settings, this technique is invaluable. When a colleague asks about your thoughts on a controversial decision, instead of revealing your position, simply say, "I've been considering different perspectives. What factors are you weighing?" Then remain silent. They'll likely reveal their complete thinking, alliances, and concerns, while you've shared nothing definitive. During negotiations, strategic silence after the other party's offer creates tremendous pressure. Most negotiators will start justifying their position, offering concessions or revealing their bottom line if you simply stay quiet. Your silence becomes a powerful tool for extracting value. The key is patience. Most people cannot tolerate the tension of an information vacuum for more than 7 and 10 seconds. If you can remain comfortable in that silence, you gain immediate psychological advantage. To master this technique, practice creating small information vacuums daily. When asked your opinion, respond with, "That's an interesting situation. What are your thoughts?" Then simply wait. Don't fill the silence. Train yourself to become comfortable with these gaps. Remember that timing is crucial. In personal relationships, create these vacuums only when something important is at stake. Used too frequently, people will recognize the pattern. Deploy this technique selectively for maximum impact. The power vacuum technique works because it leverages the fundamental human need for closure. When you withhold completing the informational circle, others feel psychological pressure to provide closure themselves, often at their own expense. Machiavelli used this method to survive political upheaval by learning the true intentions of both allies and enemies without exposing his own position. In today's information-saturated world, your ability to strategically create these vacuums might be your greatest untapped advantage. If you're still here, you already think differently. That alone sets you apart. Now, sharpen your edge. Hit subscribe. This is how you stay 10 steps ahead in a world that rewards the silent strategist. Number 3. The calculated revelation method. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to command trust and respect, even while keeping their cards close to their chest? The secret isn't complete secrecy, it's strategic revelation. Machiavelli understood something profound about human psychology that most people miss. Absolute secrecy often creates suspicion, while calculated transparency builds trust that can be leveraged. In the dangerous political landscape of Renaissance Florence, Machiavelli observed how the most successful leaders weren't those who kept everything hidden, but those who strategically revealed certain pieces of information while protecting what truly mattered. This insight can transform your influence today. This brings us to point hash 3 of 5, the calculated revelation method. This approach allows you to appear transparent while maintaining your strategic advantage. The psychological principle at work here is fascinating. When you reveal selected information, especially something that appears sensitive or personal, people automatically assume you're being completely open. This perceived transparency creates a cognitive blind spot. They stop looking for what you haven't revealed because they believe they've seen everything. Here's how it works. Identify 3 types of information you possess: low value, medium value, and high value. Low value information might seem important to others, but doesn't compromise your position if revealed. Medium value information has some real significance but isn't critical to your strategy. High value information is what actually determines your leverage and success. The technique involves deliberately revealing low and selected medium value information while keeping high value information completely protected. This creates the impression of full transparency while preserving your true advantage. Consider how Apple uses this strategy masterfully. They selectively announce certain features of upcoming products, creating a perception of openness. Meanwhile, their most innovative developments remain completely hidden until the strategic moment of reveal. This calculated approach generates both trust and anticipation. In personal interactions, this might look like sharing a challenge you're facing at work that sounds significant, but doesn't reveal your actual strategic position. When people believe you've shared something meaningful, they rarely suspect you're protecting more valuable information. During negotiations, you might reveal your timeline constraints, medium value, while keeping your actual budget capacity, high value, completely protected. The other party, believing you've been forthcoming about your limitations, often fails to press further on financial boundaries. The key is authenticity in what you do share. Never reveal false information. This undermines the entire approach. Instead, strategically select real information that you're comfortable sharing while protecting what matters most. A political consultant I worked with mastered this technique during campaigns. He would authorize leaks of certain strategic decisions to create the impression of inside access for journalists. These calculated revelations built relationships with the media while keeping the campaign's core strategy completely protected. The journalists, believing they had special access, rarely dug deeper. To implement this in your life, start by cataloging your information. What do you know that others would find valuable? Which pieces can you share without compromising your position? Which must remain protected at all costs? This inventory becomes your strategic revelation roadmap. Practice revealing selected information in a way that appears spontaneous rather than calculated. A casual, by the way, citoyen, followed by a seemingly reluctant disclosure of medium value information, creates the perception of genuine transparency rather than strategic revelation. Remember that partial revelation is often more powerful than complete secrecy because it satisfies others' need for information while preserving your core advantage. Machiavelli used this technique to navigate political intrigue while maintaining his crucial leverage points completely hidden. Number 4. The reaction mirror exercise. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to know exactly what others are thinking without being told? They possess a rare skill, the ability to gather critical information without direct questioning. This approach, which I call the reaction mirror exercise, was one of Machiavelli's most subtle yet powerful techniques for understanding others while revealing nothing about himself. In the dangerous political landscape of Renaissance Italy, asking direct questions often revealed your own interests and vulnerabilities. Machiavelli discovered something far more effective: strategic statements that provoke revealing reactions. This method allowed him to understand others' positions without exposing his own. This brings us to point hash 4 of 5, the reaction mirror exercise. This technique transforms how you gather intelligence in any interaction. The fundamental insight is simple but profound. Reactions reveal more than answers. When you ask someone a direct question, they provide a calculated response. But when you make a statement that touches on their interests or concerns, their instinctive reaction, often unconscious, reveals their true position. Here's the exercise broken down. Instead of asking, "What do you think about the Johnson proposal?" which puts them on guard, make a calibrated statement. The Johnson approach seems to address some core issues, but might create timeline problems. Then observe. Their immediate reaction, a slight frown, a quick nod, a shift in posture, often reveals their actual position before they've constructed a strategic response. The beauty of this technique is that you've revealed nothing about your own stance while gaining valuable insight into theirs. You've merely presented an ambiguous observation that forces them to react authentically. A negotiation expert I worked with used this technique to transform her results. Rather than asking suppliers if they could improve their price, which immediately revealed her dissatisfaction, she would comment, "This pricing structure seems to align with current market conditions." The supplier's reactions, either confident agreement or slight discomfort, told her immediately whether there was room for negotiation, all without revealing her own position. In workplace dynamics, this approach is invaluable. Instead of directly asking if a colleague supports your project, make an observation. The data from the pilot suggests we might need to adjust the timeline. Their reaction will often reveal their true level of investment or concern without putting them on the defensive. The key is maintaining relaxed neutrality when making these statements. Your goal is to create a mirror that reflects their position, not to reveal your own. This requires practice, delivering potentially provocative statements with a casual, matter-of-fact tone. To implement this technique effectively, prepare several neutral but relevant statements before important conversations. These should touch on key issues without indicating your position. Then, focus entirely on observation when you deliver them. Watch for micro-expressions, those fleeting reactions that last just fractions of a second before conscious control takes over. Practice makes this technique increasingly powerful. Start with low-stakes conversations, making neutral observations and studying reactions. Over time, you'll develop an almost uncanny ability to read others without exposing yourself. Remember that this technique works because of a fundamental asymmetry in human communication. Controlling our initial reactions requires conscious effort that most people haven't mastered. By the time they compose themselves, you've already gathered valuable intelligence. Machiavelli used this approach to navigate shifting political alliances, understanding the true intentions of both allies and enemies while keeping his own counsel. In today's complex social and professional environments, this skill might be the difference between being manipulated and maintaining control of your position. Number 5. The Decision Decoy Framework. Have you ever watched a magician direct your attention to their right hand while the real trick happens in their left? This same principle of misdirection represents one of Machiavelli's most brilliant strategic innovations, what I call the Decision Decoy Framework. This approach allowed him to pursue his true objectives while others focused on decoys he intentionally placed in their path. In the complex political landscape of Renaissance Italy, directly pursuing your goals often invited opposition. Machiavelli observed how the most effective leaders created alternative narratives, believable decoys that absorbed attention and opposition, while their actual plans proceeded unnoticed. This brings us to point #5 of 5, the Decision Decoy Framework. This technique allows you to protect your true objectives by creating strategic diversions. The principle works because of how human attention functions. We have limited mental bandwidth and tend to focus on what seems most immediate or threatening. By strategically creating decoys, you can direct this attention exactly where you want it, away from your actual priority. Here's how to implement this framework. Identify your true objective, the outcome you genuinely want to achieve. Then develop a secondary objective that appears significant, but that you're actually willing to compromise on. This becomes your decoy. Present the decoy as your primary focus while quietly pursuing your true objective with minimal visibility. When opposition emerges, let it concentrate on the decoy, even appearing to fight for it before eventually conceding, while your true objective advances unimpeded. A business leader I advised used this approach masterfully during a corporate restructuring. Her true objective was gaining control of the product development division. Knowing this would face resistance, she created a decoy publicly campaigning for a larger marketing budget. The executive team focused their opposition on the marketing proposal, eventually negotiating it down. Meanwhile, her transition to product development leadership was approved with minimal scrutiny as attention was directed elsewhere. In negotiations, this might look like emphasizing deadline concerns, the decoy, while your true priority is actually scope of work. As the other party focuses on addressing the timeline issues, your critical scope requirements advance without becoming contentious focal points. The key is believability. Your decoy must appear authentic enough that others accept it as your genuine priority. This requires commitment to the performance. You must appear to value the decoy, even advocating for it with apparent conviction. To develop effective decoys, look for issues adjacent to your true objective that would naturally draw attention. The best decoys relate logically to your actual goal, but focus opposition on less critical aspects. Remember that patience is essential. Allow others to win on the decoy issues. These small victories satisfy their need to feel they've checked your advancement, while your true objective continues unimpeded. In workplace environments, you might make your interest in a particular assignment known, the decoy, while quietly pursuing a different role that better serves your long-term career strategy. As colleagues position themselves around your stated interest, your path to the actual target remains clear. This framework creates a psychological buffer zone that protects your actual plans from interference. When people believe they understand your intentions, they stop looking deeper, creating space for your true objectives to advance. Machiavelli used this technique to navigate the treacherous politics of Florence, often allowing others to believe they had discovered and thwarted his ambitions, while his actual strategies proceeded exactly as planned. In today's complex professional landscape, this approach provides a powerful way to advance your priorities while minimizing unnecessary opposition. These 5 Machiavellian techniques, the 3-circle information strategy, the power vacuum technique, the calculated revelation method, the reaction mirror exercise, and the decision decoy framework, form a complete system for strategic opacity. In a world where oversharing has become the norm, your ability to control information flow is rare and valuable. remember that power doesn't come from what you know. It comes from what you know that others don't. Machiavelli survived and thrived in one of history's most dangerous political environments, not through force, but through strategic silence and calculated moves. Apply these principles with integrity, using them not to harm others, but to protect yourself from those who would take advantage of your transparency. The true Machiavellian doesn't announce their tactics. They simply implement them and watch as the results speak for themselves. Your journey towards strategic opacity starts now with a single decision. What will you choose not to reveal today? The next video the algorithm chose for you isn't random. It's your next tactical upgrade. Click it now and continue your silent ascent. Those who hesitate lose influence.